All right, now that we've looked at some differences between street art and graffiti, and we've looked at how Shepard Fairey uses basically a logo of his Andre the Giant face and the word obey, and how he translates that into meaning making that represents sort of him, we're going to look at some effective logo design in advertisements, because again, street art sort of, and graffiti as well, uses a lot of principles of advertisements to get their messages out. What they're advertising is either themselves as an artist or some ideas that they want to do. And of course, here's our logo. And what I've done is I've taken I made a parody pretty much of our MCVI basic logo, and I've just changed obviously the Trojan into having a gas mask with it. We've changed the MCVI letters to make it look more graffiti-like, and we've added UASC under there for Urban Art for Social Change. So this is an effective logo because it's a parody of our current logo that's already made for our school. In terms of reprinting, it's not bad. It's kind of too complicated, but it is a single color, so it works well that way. But in terms of making t-shirts and stickers and things like that, it's not too bad. In terms of a stencil, it's tricky with all the extra drips and things like that, and how complicated some of the parts are inside of the spray paint mask and stuff. So it doesn't necessarily fall upon all the lines of the things that I'm going to show you. So if you're into advertisements and if this is something that maybe you want to do, and there's a lot of money in this, especially when you talk about social media and everything, it's more important to be able to sort of brand yourself, whether it's for a product, or you're going to be as an artist, or to keep up your blogs and your Instagram posts and things like that. So a logo is really important. I mean, if you think it, I don't know how many of you have, YouTube channels, but, you have a logo for those things. And so there's 5 principles for effective logo design, and those are being simple, memorable, timeless, versatile, and appropriate. So logos have to be simple because people's sort of attention span is very short, right? It's not like you're looking at a painting and you're really analyzing it. It's something that passes by quickly. I'm thinking an advertisement, like on a bus that goes past you really quickly, or a sign that's somewhere on a billboard, and something on a t-shirt, and it's sort of, there's so much competition with visual images in our culture right now. If you're thinking, going downtown Toronto, how much advertisements there are all the time on, buses and bus stops and billboards and sign windows and stores. And so it has to be something that's really simple so people can read it very quickly and recognize it very quickly. So they have to be unique, though, while they're being simple, which is harder to do when you're trying to design something that's simple but is unique. So one way of making things memorable is by repeating them, and that's what we sort of looked at with Shepard Fairey's work, and right, that idea of phenomenology and repeating the image over and over and over again before it gives it a meaning, right? So McDonald's does this very well. So they have something very simple like that M, the word McDonald's in it, and quite often they just have the M, and they've given it a name, the Golden Arches. So quite often we can just see that M as we're driving down the highway, and we see the big plastic yellow golden M, and we know, oh, that's McDonald's, right? And we can automatically start thinking about the food that they have, and if we're hungry. And so it's something that has to have a really interesting sort of design, but people are going to remember. Now, creating a logo that is timeless is harder than you think. The idea is that you want to have a logo that doesn't sort of play into the fads that are currently happening in society at the time. And that in terms of font, for example, even it's something that what's kind of cool right now. You don't want something that's looks very 80-ish, like it was done in the 80s with sort of the bright colors and the way that they did the letters, because in 20-25 years it's going to look very retro, and it's something that's not necessarily going to play into currently. So just to give an example, Coca-Cola has been using the same logo since 1885. Yes, they've rebranded it, and they've tried Coke Zero, and they had their Diet Coke and whatnot, and their Cherry Coke and everything, but they basically have had the same logo since 1885. If you look at by contrast, is Pepsi, how much they have rebranded their logo to kind of fit with the times. In 1885, Pepsi Cola actually looked a lot like the Coca-Cola logo, that sort of cursive writing, and they sort of evolved it a little bit, and they stayed with that red color. And you could see, like in marketing, when you would see, imagine in 1885, if you saw, Coca-Cola and Pepsi Cola beside each other, right away it would be hard to distinguish one from the other, and they would be pretty much the same to you. So in the early 1900s, Pepsi Cola started coming up with using different colors besides just the red, and having the red and yellow, red and white and blue, and sort of changing it a little bit there. And then they, of course, when graphics got better in the mid 2000s, they kind of have this cool sort of digital image, and then they've got a really simple letters. They've started off with something that's very cursive to very simple sort of lettering. But again, we do recognize their brand, because they do quite a bit of advertisement, but it's almost like they can't make up their mind. So be really careful when you're designing your logo. It's something that's not trendy. You're making the trend with your logo. You're not following trends. So one of the hardest things to do is with creating a logo is creating something that's versatile. You want something that can go on any medium with the same logo. And what I mean by that is something that goes really easily on a digital image, but also that I could create a stencil with very easily, something that could be easily printed on a t-shirt or a sticker or a stencil or silk screens. So you need to make sure that it's a very strong image, and ideally one color is sort of the best, because this saves you money. So because every color that you print makes it more expensive and is a separate print. So the WWF, which is the World Wildlife Federation, is quite brilliant on the way that they've only used one color, but it has the appearance of having the white and the black having two colors, but actually it doesn't. It's just because they've used the outside shape of the panda to kind of make it look like it's white in there as well. So this one here, it could work on a skateboard if you're making skateboards with it. It could make, a cool stencil for something on the wall. It could be a cool sticker. And then because you have a really strong, versatile image, there's so much more that you could do with it. So logos should be designed so they can turn into vector formats, which is just what you see, a single color. It's a high quality sort of digital image of one color, and I'm going to show you later how to make that. So you have to make sure that when you're designing your logo, is it effective if I do it in one color, right? So necessarily you can't have two colors overlap, because if you changed it into a single color, it would just be like a solid shape. Can it be something that's printed very small? Is it something that you could print so large on a billboard? Could you reverse it? Could you have a light logo and a dark background? So could you play around with the idea quite a bit? And it has to be appropriate. So think about your message and think about the audience that you're intending it for. So Toys R Us, the letters are very round and playful because it's very kid-like, right? The R is backwards because it's making fun of, sort of playing on the idea that kids, are still learning, and they write some of their letters backwards. They're not primary colors, but they're sort of tinted primary colors. So they're more soft, red, yellow, green, and blue, that sort of are more calming, sort of childlike colors. So the color scheme and the font really play on your message and who is your audience. So when we're thinking about logos, you don't always have to have it exactly what your product or what your idea is going to be about. So quite often there's lots of logos. So 50% of the brands in the world, the top 50 of them, most of them, 94% of them, don't describe what the company does. So, we think again about the golden arches for McDonald's. That has nothing to do with a hamburger or French fries, right? It doesn't necessarily talk about what the product is. Again, you are starting the trend. You are starting the brand. You're starting the medium. Just like in Shepard Fairey's work, Andre the Giant, everything that he was doing with this obey image of Andre the Giant and that stern look had nothing to do with wrestling, had nothing to do with Andre the Giant. You're giving it meaning by creating it. Okay, so those are some of the ideas about what an effective logo design. So next year, you're going to try and design your own logo following those simple things about, is it something that's not following a trend? Are you creating a trend? Are you creating a very strong image that can versatile, that would work in a single color, that could work in multiple colors, that could work on multiple materials? What I encourage you to do is start thinking about maybe it's something that's come from your graffiti name, that you've come up with that name already, and there's some already great ideas behind your graffiti name and meaning behind that. Maybe this is something that you've already had in the back of your mind and you want to create a logo for your YouTube channel, whether it's, you're a gamer and it's something that you want to start doing with that. Or something else. Maybe there's another idea that you've had sort of sitting in the back of your mind that you want to do something with. Maybe as an artist, you want to start promoting your own sort of work, and that's what you're going to use. So take all the things that you've learned about yourself in graffiti and promoting yourself, and some of the things that we've talked about with Shepard Fairey's work and effective logo designs, and you're going to move on to the next lesson, and you're going to try some of the websites that will help you create your own logo. Okay, good luck.